Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yesterday we studied peace and harmony. We'll continue further. Up to here we studied what are the roles of management in maintaining peace and harmony in the organization. Then we'll go code of discipline. Code of discipline, code of conduct. This is one important topic in this chapter. Whatever highlighted, it's actually coming as MCQ in the exam. So you can remember those dates or the points or the words, whatever highlighted in this slide. So those important things I can make highlight moving forward so that it will be convenient for you. Code of discipline. What is code of discipline? You do anything in the society, in your home or in your day-to-day life, you maintain some rules. Suppose you go to a street, you walk on the left side. No one is asking you. So if you walk in the right side, if you cross the red light, then definitely there will be a penalty. So you maintain certain rules. So that is nothing but discipline. You read these first 4 points. The code of discipline was drafted. It was drafted, it was initiated. That means it was written for very first time by tripartite subcommittee. Tripartite means that we understood in the first semester. It's an agreement between the employer, and the other parties like government, all judicial officers. So all the 3 parties all together, they have come to an agreement. They have drafted certain rules in the subcommittee appointed by the ILO, Indian Labour Conference, ILC. This is popularly known as ILC, Indian Labour Conference, in 1957. So this may come in the objective type as MCQ, as I told, in which year it was drafted. It was drafted in 1956 and was modified. Modified is also one important thing. I am also highlighting this. Modified in the same year, in 1956, by the Standing Labour Committee. The Code of Discipline was adopted by the Indian Labour Conference in the 16th session in May 1958. So you have to remember this 16th session of this committee. And it was adopted. The question may come when the Code of Discipline was adopted on May 1958 in the 60th session by the Indian Labour Conference, who has adopted by Indian Labour Conference. And it came into force in the same year. Same year it was on June 1st, 1958. In May it was adopted and it came into force on June 58. The Code of Labor Discipline was established during the second 5-year plan. You know, every 5 years, the second 5 years, second 5 years onwards, it was established in the 5-year plan. So these 4 points can come as objective type. short type. The multiple choice question MCQ, what I said. So you remember this highlighted area. Which date? 1957, 1958, May and June. One thing is drafted, when it was drafted, when it was adopted, when it came into force. Drafted, modified, adopted, these are important things. And the second 5 years plan. In which 5-year plan code of discipline was established? It may come. So you remember the second 5-year plan. What is the meaning of code of discipline? Orderly behavior by members and employees. If you join in any organization, you have to obey certain rule, you have to follow certain rule, whatever the order you are getting, whatever the instruction you are getting, you have to follow. That is what mentioned. Orderly behavior in the by the members or employees. Whoever joined the company, whoever working in the company, they are bound to follow the instruction, the order, what is coming in the top level. Behaving in a desired manner. So I was explaining, if you are going down a street, you definitely walk on the left side. If you go in any road, you follow certain rules. When you come to your home, you don't come to your home at midnight, at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Wherever you go, you come before evening or night. Then you have a certain times to have breakfast, dinner, lunch. Then you go to bed. So you follow certain rules. Behaving in a desired manner. No one is telling you, you behave like that. If you don't behave like that, then there will be a problem. Discipline is the practice of making people obey rules or standards of behaviors. So there are certain standards in anywhere, in any organization, in any home, in any society. So you have to follow that standard. If you don't follow, then there will be a punishment. If you cross the signals, then traffic people will charge penalty on you. So there is a punishment. If you come every day at midnight to home, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, your parents definitely scold you. They will say, they will ask you, you are answerable for all this. So if you don't follow, there is a punishment. So these are the discipline you need to follow. According to Richard D. Cullen, there is a definition given in the slide. Discipline may be considered as a force that prompts individuals or groups to observe the rules, regulations, and procedures which are deemed to be necessary for the effective functioning of an organization. You see any organization, any company, any society, they follow certain discipline, follow certain rules. Otherwise, it's very difficult to manage them, to organize them, to regulate the day-to-day function of that organization. So that is what the definition said. Discipline considered as a force. That means everyone has to follow the discipline. If you go to an office, you go on time. The office opens at 10 o'clock, you go to 10, go to there 10 o'clock. You don't go by 11, 12 or 1 or 2. You follow certain discipline. So every workplace has a time. You follow that time. So that is the example of discipline. So you understood few things in discipline. What is the meaning of discipline? when it was drafted, when it was modified, when it was adopted, all these things. And you remember these two dates, 16th session in May 1958 and 1st June 1958. First time it was drafted in 1957, and the meaning and the definition. So this slide has three important things you remember. Then really understand who has adopted. I told you earlier in the earlier slide. So this is one mutual agreement between employer and employee. So all together they sat together, they discussed what is required in the code of discipline. So they have drafted, then it was adopted. So after that, after 1957-58, so there are few company, few employer in the government organization or few trade union, they have accepted it. So that is in the next slide. Who has adopted? Adaptation of code of discipline. The code was initially accepted by central employer. These first three, these are the central employers. EFI, Employers Federation of India. AIOEA, All India Organization of Industrial Employment. All India Manufacturers Organization, Workers Organization. These are central employers who has adopted the discipline. Then there are four trade unions. These things we studied what are the different trade union in semester 1. Indian National Trade Union Congress, INTUC. AITUC, All India Trade Union Congress. HMS, Hindu Mazdoor Sabha. United Trade Union Congress, UTUC. So these are the organizations initially, the very first time, 1957-58, whenever this discipline was adopted, is enforced, is then that time these are the organization was accepted and adopted and implemented within that unions, within that employment structure. They have accepted the written discipline, whatever the discipline accepted by the committee, this organization has accepted. So this can come a question, who was accepted, adopted the code of discipline? So you have mentioned, you can mention these employers. Who are the employers? The government employers, then the trade union organization, INTUC, INTUC, ATUC. You can remember it this way, INTUC, INTUC. Indian National Trade Union Congress, ATUC. All India Trade Union Congress, HMS, Hind Mazdoor Sabha, UTUC, United Trade Union Congress. These are the four trade union, and there are some central employer who has accepted this code of discipline. You can remember this. This can come in the exam. Next thing is objective of code of discipline. What are the objectives? Why we need code of discipline? This is very self-explanatory. You can remember, you can write a lot of things. Emphasize upon the employers and employees to recognize each other's rights and obligations. So generally in the organization, whoever is the employer, whoever is the boss, whoever is the owner of the organization, they exploit the employees, whoever is working. So you have seen in the organization. Suppose you are the owner of a company. Under you, there are 5, 10 people are working. So you think you are the everything and you exploit them. So in order not to do that, so each and every employees, each and every workers need to understand their rights, duties, obligations, what they do, what they cannot do, what is their entitlement. So all these things so should be written in the code of discipline. So there is no question of exploitation. Emphasis upon the employers and employees to recognize each other's rights and obligations. If someone is working with you, it doesn't mean that you can ask anything. So this person, whoever working, whoever is the workman, workforce in an organization, should understand these rights and duties of the work, what he or she is going to do. So that is the first objective of Code of Day 7. Another thing is promote constructive criticism. Constructive criticism and destructive criticism. You know the difference. So constructive criticism in a positive way. That means suppose one person is not doing the proper work, so you are going to give him the feedback. So you have to give in a constructive way. You have to tell why the person is not doing the work. Maybe the person is not willing to do. Maybe the person is not interested to do the work. So you can understand, you can tell, suppose a person is not productive, you can explain in such a way so that the person is going to be productive next time. So if someone is not productive, what is going to impact? If someone is productive, what is going to impact on him? So how you can make a difference? So that is constructive criticism. Code of discipline is like that. So if you have given instruction to someone or if you are explaining to someone, it is in a constructive manner, it is in a positive manner. Maintain discipline in the industry to avoid work stoppage. To avoid work stoppage. Yesterday we discussed several things like strike, lockout, get-out. So that those are nothing but work stoppage. So why a person is doing strike, why a person is doing lockout, why a group is going for a strike. So if all these things are mentioned in the code of discipline and those organizations, those employer and employee obey to that, that means the objective of having code of discipline is to stop the to avoid those work stoppage, avoid those strike, avoid those lockout. So that is mentioned in one of the objectives. Eliminates all form of coercion, intimidation, and violence. What does it mean? Intimidation, coercion. This means any kind of violence, any kind of marpit, हिंसा गोटे गोटे काम होने पिला माने ऑफिस रे एम्प्लॉई माने किंबा किसी वर्कर माने जदि झगड़ा लागुचंती कि मारपीट लागुचंती किंबा किसी बाहर गुंडा आसिकी हमको जो कहती कणडा कहती ओडिया रे मारपीट मैंने गुंडागर्दी जो करती, that means intimidation. Intimidation and violence in industrial element. So if you have a proper discipline, code of discipline written, you can avoid such things, such kind of violence, marpet, gundagardi, facilitate the free growth of trade union. Each trade union is identified by the organization. The discipline itself identifies the trade union. So trade union grows or recognition comes from the discipline. So if you don't have any discipline, people will not join, you will not have a proper organization, proper union. Secure settlement dispute and grievance by mutual negotiation, conciliation, and voluntary arbitration. So this means most of the things can be resolved by mutually discussing, consulting, and arbitration. Suppose you and me are fighting, so and some third person comes to picture and explaining, and there is a compromisation between you and me, so that you will gain and I will gain. So there is a settlement between you and me. There is no fighting required, so that either I will lose or you will lose. You will be benefited or I will be benefited. So one person will lose, one person will benefit. Rather doing that, if there is a mutual agreement between you and me, you will be benefited, I will be benefited. So that is one type of code of discipline. So these are the objective of code of discipline. So we studied when it was implemented, when it was adopted, then the meaning of code of discipline. Then we also studied who else are accepted initially the code of discipline, what are the government organization and trade union, then the objective of code of discipline. We'll discuss further on this topic. We'll take a quick break here, maybe 5 minutes maximum. Then we'll discuss further on this topic, code of discipline, and we'll finish it tomorrow, this entire chapter. We'll meet after 5 minutes in the same link. Thank you.